On my channel, I've covered the history of many of Vivziepop's old cancelled projects. These projects had a variety of interesting ideas, however, they had to be scrapped due to time constraints and other contributing factors. There is one project that I've yet to cover, and this one has a tragic backstory which sets it apart from the rest. In this video, I'm going to discuss the history and tragic disappearance of Vivziepop's Timber project. The story starts way back in 2012. At this time, Vivziepop was attending the School of Visual Arts in New York City and created her main YouTube channel. While at school, she built up an audience of followers by creating fun animations and artwork in her unique style. Also in 2012, she created her Zoophobia webcomic, which grew a dedicated cult following and became her main project. While in her fourth year at college, Vivzie was tasked with creating her thesis, which is a piece of work that a student must complete in order to graduate and get their degree. For Vivzie's thesis, she wanted to create an animated film, but in a different universe separate from her Zoophobia characters. As a result, Viv began work on Timber. In January 20th, 2014, Vivzie created the Timber Film Tumblr blog. This blog would be solely dedicated to the project, as a way to keep fans engaged and updated. However, it was also to help separate it from Viv's other works. On her blog, she would post constant updates, sneak peeks, and also share fan art. Fans were eagerly awaiting the release of the short, with it finally being published on May 12, 2014. So what was the Timber short? Well, it was a 5-minute animated video featuring the protagonist called Timber, or Tim, in a fantasy world. The name of the short comes from the song Timber, released in 2013 by Pitbull and Kesha. The plot of the video is that Timber, the red-headed protagonist, travels to a small woodland town populated by anthropomorphic owl critters with different sets of eyeballs. She makes friends with a couple, they do some dancing, and they get locked up by two other large owl creatures. Another character plays a harmonica and hands it to Timber. They sing together, and that's the end of the short. So basically, the short is a fun story about friendship, music, and unification. It is a cast of interesting characters, and Vivzie's trademark animated style, which looks beautiful. What's special about Timber is that there is no dialogue, no characters speak, and instead, throughout the short, we solely hear sound effects and the background music. The soundtrack was produced by Gooseworks, a friend of Viv's who ended up composing the soundtrack for the Has-Been Hotel pilot. The Timber video was a success and garnered lots of support and praise from viewers. Viv's thesis film was so well received that she ended up winning the Outstanding Achievement in Character Animation award during the 25th Dusty Awards at her college. There's even a 2014 livestream of Viv going on stage and collecting her award, with Viv saying she never expected it to be so well received and thanking friends, family, and the audience for the support. Following on from this, later that year, Vivzie would post her Die Young music video, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. This video exploded in popularity and gave Viv an entirely new audience. Many of these new viewers would check Viv's video catalogue and watch her Timber short, causing even more people to fall in love with the project. As of 2023, the Timber video sits at over 22 million views on YouTube. Throughout 2014, Viv would continue work on her other projects, like Zoophobia. With the success of her channel and work, Vivzie pitched 2 comedy shorts to Channel Frederator in 2015. One short involved 2 Has-Been Hotel characters, being Angel Dust and Arachnus. The second project was a Timber short, so most likely a sequel to her original video. A couple months later, Vivzie posted a second update that she was struggling with the pitches, due to her being in a creative slump, though she said she was trying her best to juggle everything and keep the content rolling. Throughout that year, Viv would post more updates, such as a redesign for Timber. According to Viv, Timber went from a silly story to something deeper with a lot of meaning. It's unknown what exactly happened to her pitch to Channel Frederator, but it's presumed that it fell through and Viv was instead looking to make it into its own indie series, somewhat similar to what she did for her other project. This is backed up by a couple tweets. In January 2016, Viv said that Timber is her only concept that is family friendly. She said Zoophobia and Has-Been Hotel have content aimed at older people. Personally, I think this was really interesting. Zoophobia had a mix of darker content with happy tones. On the other hand, Has-Been Hotel has always had a darker, grittier tone. I think having a third project that caters to a younger demographic would be the perfect balance to her portfolio. Similarly, as her viewers get older, they can go from watching Timber to Zoophobia and finally Has-Been Hotel. In April 2016, during a tweet, Viv said that Timber is moving away from a miniseries and going back to at least a 2 to 3 season story. So, within a 2-year time frame, the project went from a 5-minute thesis film to a short pitch to becoming its own confined universe with a seasonal story. A week later, Vivzie posted a test shot for practice. We could see Timber in a forest walking past what appears to be a house. In October, Viv posted another update. This time, she said she has a whole host of projects she's working on. She was going to create a pilot for either Has-Been or Timber. She was also working on content about JJ from her Die Young video, and her other cancelled project, Allison. This update is interesting because at this point, Timber was toe-to-toe with Has-Been in terms of content. Both projects had a cast of characters with interesting lore. The only difference is that Timber was a step ahead since it had the thesis film, while Hazbin did not. In November, Viv started to upload speed draws on her channel based around Timber. This was something Viv had been doing for her other series for several years, but as she continued to flesh out the characters, she'd post the videos to her channel to help keep fans engaged. As a result, Viv's main 3 projects were Hazbin, Hotel, Zoophobia, and Timber. In the first video, she draws an art piece featuring Timber and a couple other characters from the original short film. I wasn't able to find out the name of the large female bird character on the left, however on the right we can see Timber's new pet dinosaur. This character is called Moccasin and he's a Utahraptor. In a video titled Patreon Plus Update, Vivzie outlines what she's doing at the moment and also a revamp to her Patreon. She lists a couple of projects she's working on, with the most important being Timber. During the video, she says she's developed Timber into its own series, which she's working on alongside her other projects like Hazbin Hotel. On screen, she shows a shot of the Timber cast. At least to me, it looks like it's Wild West themed, with several characters featuring tribal attire, while others wear cowboy hats. The character at the bottom right is called River, while the characters on the left are the antagonists in the series. Moving into 2017, things continued as per usual. Viv would continue to upload speed draws, one example being in March 2017, where we can see a whole host of new characters that will appear in the series. Vivzie would sometimes make these videos back to back. They'd show the cast in new locations and areas, perhaps teasing plot points for the full show. However, just when things seemed to be going well, disaster struck. In May, Vivziepop did a tragic announcement. I'll read out what Viv said. The bad news is that for the past year I've been working with a production company. I sunk a lot of money into it because they kept making promises and I had faith they would be kept. Now I am hopeful that maybe things will have a happy ending. Both sides want to end things positively, but the fact of the matter is, they never managed to make good on any of the things that were promised to me for an entire year, and they had been hyping up and promising the securing of funding for a Timber pilot. The amount of money I gave to them could have easily funded a pilot on my own, so I am hoping they manage to get me that money back or things could get messy. I'm going to be working extra hard to earn that money back, but until then, I'm sorry to say the Timber pilot has to be shelved. I'm so sorry for this. Trust me, nobody is more heartbroken about it than me. I'm really hoping things end happily. I'm not going to go into detail about the situation unless they stop giving me reason to be respectful and positive. Again though, I'm so sorry. Trust me, I've spent some time crying about the situation. So basically what happened is that Vivzie had 2 main pilots she was working on, being Hazbin Hotel and Timber. While she worked on Hazbin, she started work with an unknown production company to help with Timber. The company basically scammed her and ran away with her money. As a result, the Timber pilot had to be shelved. So from this event, you'd expect Timber to be dead in the water, but actually Vivzie continued to post work and art from the project. For many months after, she'd post speed draws showcasing characters from the series, such as the aforementioned River character and the rest of the cast in various new locations. The very last video about Timber came out on October 1st, 2017. Like the rest, this was a simple speed draw video. From that point onwards, regular uploads in Vivzie's channel slowed as she started to pivot towards Hazbin Hotel, since it was her main project and was progressing smoothly in its production. Since that upload, Viv has discussed Timber a couple times. In December 2018, she mentioned wanting to make a Timber short. This was mentioned again in January 2020. In a tweet in 2021, Vivzie talked about the criticism that she drops projects too often. In one tweet, she says that many of her film concepts are on the shelf since many behind-the-scenes things prevented them from becoming reality, including investing into a scam production company that doomed the first one that she tried to make seriously. This was obviously referring to Timber. That was the last time Vivzie discussed the project. Before moving on to the last section of the video, I want to showcase some early concepts for Timber. If you attend any convention that Viv hosts a panel at, you can purchase The Art of Vivziepop Volume 1. This book contains many pieces of art drawn by Viv for all of her oldest projects. A bit off topic, but if any viewers watching this have this book, I would love to buy a copy from you. Back on topic, in the art book we can see a section dedicated to Timber. Credit to Twitter user Mercurial Missy for providing the footage. On the first page we can see some art pieces of Timber and the cast. We've seen these before in previous speed draws and videos. On the second page we can see some artwork for a red character. This character is called Ash, and my personal headcanon is that she was the main antagonist of the story. Not much else is known about her, but I think her design is my personal favourite out of the bunch, with River being a close second. We can see some more art on the right page. These again show Ash, so it makes sense that she's an important character since she's given so much art. Plus the second drawing has her stalking Timber behind a rock. And on the final page we can see River performing with an instrument. So River is another important character. She was most likely a singer or performer, which matches in with the musical atmosphere of the original Thesis film. So with the history, rise and fall discussed, it's time to get into my personal thoughts on Timber and whether or not we'll see its return. Overall, I think a Timber series is a really interesting concept. The short was a huge success, and in each and every speed draw video there were comment sections full of eager fans waiting for more content. It's pretty clear that the reason it never came to fruition was because of that production company scamming Vivzie. It basically doomed the project, and shortly after, Viv had to focus on other projects like Has-Been Hotel, Zoophobia and Hell of a Boss. So as a result, Timber has been put onto the shelf to be looked at again later. The cast of characters looked unique, and although we don't know much about the plot, my theory is that the story was a fantasy adventure based on Timber. She would travel through these wonderful areas, meet an array of characters both good and bad, and likely have some sort of wholesome message by the end of the series. The fact that Viv said it would be 2 to 3 seasons long highlights how much thought went into the story of Timber. To be honest, I'm quite intrigued to see what would have happened if the company never scammed Viv. Perhaps Timber would be her main project, and other projects like Hell of a Boss wouldn't exist. Like I mentioned several times throughout the video, Timber was meant to be for all ages. I think this would help set it apart from Viv's other shows, and provide a chance to see some work from Viv that isn't confined to the crude comedy genre. I myself love Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss for their themes and humour, but I think a family-friendly adventure series with a cast of furry characters is something everyone could enjoy, and would be a nice change of pace from the craziness of Viv's other shows. I think Timber is in the same boat as Zoophobia. Vivzie has years of fun lore, stories and characters to use. It's just that at the moment she has her hands tied with Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss. I reckon in the future we'll eventually see a Timber short, and perhaps a full series. In conclusion, I think Timber was another amazing project from Vivzie that sadly never saw the light of day. If you saw my other videos in this series, you'll know that most of these projects suffered the same fate, being that they were cancelled to make way for other shows. Though I think Timber was unfortunately ruined by that scam production company, I don't think that Viv is throwing the towel just yet. Out of them all, I think Classic and Allison are gone for good, while Zoophobia and Timber will get remade once Viv is finished with Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss. Before I wrap up the video, I'd just like to thank you for watching this far. This series of videos on Viv's past projects has been a blast to research and create. I hope all of you had as much fun watching and learning about these shows as I did making these videos. If you have any thoughts on the video, or perhaps some video suggestions you'd like me to check out, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching.